welcome to our first AMA session, Ask Me Anything, or in my case, Ask Mark Anything. As you might know, we send out an email newsletter every week or every other week where we basically talk about the latest happening in web and mobile and technology in general. And we get emails back and questions back when we send out these newsletters. And now we wanted to start out this AMA session where we collect these questions into a session. And last time we sent out an email, we talked about the tech trends happening in 2020. So this is what we want to talk about today. And some of the questions that we received, and thanks for that, by the way, you've seen listed over here that we want to talk about. So maybe just dive in. If you haven't subscribed already, obviously go in, drop your email, go on whitehouse.com and drop your email. You even get a free ebook. So we have a physical book that we wrote. Software is Feeding the World. It's right here. It's real. It's a physical version that you can buy on Amazon. And as we like to say, spread the words. Software is feeding the world. If you haven't bought the book, feel free. If not, you can actually go on whitehouse.com and get a free version of the ebook if you drop your email. So feel free to do that. Enough with the promos. Let's dive into some of the questions that some of you have sent. This is something that happens almost every week where we get a question about stuff that's happening in the web and mobile industry. We work with that and have been working with that for decades almost. So obviously we get a lot of these questions that we hope that we can answer for you today. So in the newsletter, we talked about the tech trends, and one of the big trends happening is push notifications in the browser. So you might have seen in a browser, just like on your phone, you have these push notifications on your phone. It looks a little bit like this when it's in a browser. So you have this browser window that you know. And then suddenly, if you have Chrome, for example, on your computer, there's something popping up on the side. This is what a push notification in the browser is all about. And you can install these extensions in Chrome and Firefox and all that stuff, or you can allow websites to be able to retrieve information about you, such as your location, and then also you can allow it to push notifications to you in the browser. So is push notifications really the future of the web? Maybe, maybe not. The question is, should you use push notifications for your own website or a Chrome extension if you build that, or any extension in the browser? And the answer that we would give is maybe. It depends. Just like when you have a mobile app where we typically consider should you build or should you not build push notification features inside the app. That's also depending on what it is that you try to achieve with the app. So if it's important for them to have specific things coming their way, like they need to know this notification, otherwise they can't move forward. So for example, in the Uber app, you get this notification after you ended the trip, once they found a driver for you. Those notifications are quite important when you are using the Uber app. You might have similar functionality on your website or extension in the browser. If you have that functionality that is super key for the user to see, then it makes sense. Do keep in mind though that it is a bit invasive to have a push notification. The last thing you want to be labeled as is a spammer that just keeps spamming the visitor or the user with useless notifications. So you need to balance those two. You need to make sure you are not just pushing and pushing and pushing notifications that make no sense to the user. But at the same time, you need the user to be able to take the next step in your extension or on your website. So that's what you need to keep in mind when you look at push notifications that you can now build relatively easy in the browser, which is great. The next question that we received was risk of tech trends. So we talk about, also in the book, in Software is Feeding the World, We talk a lot about these different risks that we face in the industry, in technology in general. You see, everything is becoming digital. Uh, More and more companies and organizations are, if not 100% dependent, but then partly dependent on their technology and their IT, which obviously comes with risk. And the question that was sent to us was about, is there a risk in where we're heading with technology? And the way we look at it is with any tool, technology like web technology or mobile technology or browser technology, whatever technology is a tool. And humans have invented tools since the beginning. With any tool, you can use it to break stuff or demolish stuff, or you can use it to create stuff. So web technology, mobile technology is no different than that. You can use it to do good, and you can use it to do bad. So obviously there are certain risks involved when we become more and more dependent on digital and technology in general. This is something that people like us who build technology always keep in mind, and we need to keep in mind, because otherwise we end up doing more bad than good in the end. And I think by far most people that I know in technology and we have seen in technology, they use technology to do good. There are, of course, bad actors, but the far majority use technology and web and mobile to do good in the world. One big risk that we have seen, though, despite trying to do good or bad, is that technology tends, especially with the internet and web and mobile, technology tends to really aggregate power. It's a really, really, I guess you can say, exponential tool of aggregating power and knowledge. Take the big tech companies, Amazon, Apple, Facebook, Google, etc. They know more about us than even we know about ourselves. That's obviously dangerous, and they can use that power to do tremendously good, but also tremendously bad without them knowing, aka Cambridge Analytica and all these cases that we've seen over and over again. It's not just in the US that we see this, we also see it in places like China, where the government is obviously involved to a much larger extent than you see in the US. And that also has different side effects to it. You have a social score rolling out in China, mass surveillance rolling out in China with image recognition using modern tech in AI. So that is obviously risk of Big Brother going, happening in the real world. So there are naturally risks involved in these tech trends. But in a nutshell, the way we look at it is that the risk is about the aggregation of power. And whoever sits on that power, whether it's Mark Zuckerberg in Facebook or the Chinese government in China, they can use this power for good and bad. So again, back to the argument, it can be both sides. It's not just a one clear answer. But the new thing about this world and this tool, the digital tools that we have today, is that all of a sudden you have this monopoly that is almost impossible to break down. I'll give you an example. Google's search engine, for example. Why is Google the best search engine in the world? That's simply because more people use Google than, for example, Microsoft Bing. Why is that important? It's important because every time you search on something on the Google search page, when you do that, basically what happens is that, so you click on a search result that you like, so you go on the next page, that is telling the Google algorithm that this search result is better. So next time that somebody searches the same thing, I might rank it higher than it was before. If it was the third place, it might be the second place next time somebody searches on it. So obviously that feedback loop becomes stronger and stronger the more people use Google search engine. And it's very, very hard to break that positive spiral. You might not even want to do it because obviously Google provides a tremendous service for free. So that is obviously great for Google and great for everybody because it's a service provided for free. But at the same time, Google aggregates a tremendous amount of power with the information that they gather, what we click on, what interests we have, and all that stuff. So it's very hard to break down that monopoly. And in the end, we hope, rely, pray to God that Google will not use it to do harm to us. And sometimes they might do harm without them knowing, which you've seen in many cases with, for example, Facebook that has been to Congress and these congressional hearings with Cambridge Analytica, for example, where they collected a lot of information which was then by mistake accessed by malicious organizations like Cambridge Analytica to do bad. So that's obviously a big risk in modern tech and tech trends. So that is something that we have seen over and over that we need to consider when we build technology for the companies that we work with. How is data handled? How do we make sure we balance these two acts of the power aggregating and the service that we can provide to users, which is typically free when it comes to digital. So that's a big risk with tech. Let me know if you see other risks. That would be interesting to hear in the comments below. But in order to not talk too much about this, let's move on to question number 3. We had a question about blockchain, whether it's dead or alive. And that is, I think, a great question. Blockchain has been hyped, especially with cryptocurrency sort of peaking in the end of 2017. Then there was what is called the crypto winter, where all the cryptocurrencies sort of dropped tremendously to a fraction of what they were worth just a month before. And then nobody really seemed to pay attention to the underlying technology, which is blockchain of these cryptocurrencies. Now, what we've seen, and many other technology companies have seen, is that as the hype cycle goes up and then drops afterwards with cryptocurrency, technology actually just keeps progressing. It's something happening behind the scene, you can say. You don't see it every day, but every single day there is somebody somewhere out there working hard to make the next big thing on blockchain. It is a proven technology. Bitcoin, for example, which invented the first blockchain, is still live and awake. Whether the price goes up and down, the technology and the blockchain is continuously going. What is amazing with Bitcoin and blockchain in particular is that is the only system in the world. There's only one system in the world that can document and say, we know for sure, 100% sure, that this system has been operating with an uptime of 100%. It has never broken down since it was launched in 2009. So since 2009, Bitcoin can document that their system and blockchain has been operating nonstop. No other system can do that. You might have another organization say, yeah, but our systems have been running as well since 2009. But they will never be able to document that because, as you might know, blockchain is open, it's open source. Everybody can contribute, everybody can see it. So the technology is still progressing, basically, is what I'm saying. The killer app is Bitcoin that everybody knows, but other projects are coming along. Examples could be Steemit, launched a few years back, has only gotten bigger. Steemit is basically similar to Medium, the micro-blogging site, where basically you get rewards or you get money back from your work, basically what you write and what you post on Steemit. So if you post a great article, just like if you post a great article on Medium, you get paid back in Steemit's own cryptocurrency called Steem. So that's a blogging site that is really growing very fast, which you can check out. Another example that you might know about is called DTube. It's basically YouTube, but on blockchain. So similar concept like Steemit. You post a video like this, for example. You can post that and receive rewards back in cryptocurrency. So there are a lot of these platforms which are running on blockchain and growing in traction. which you know sort of the concept, YouTube, Medium, and all these different concepts. Social media, there's also different projects that use blockchain, which has created these social media platforms. So what we see behind the scene and following this closely is that while cryptocurrency and all these hype cycles they go up and down, technology keeps improving every single day. And that's also why we put blockchain in one of the 2020 trends that we think people should pay attention to. So it's still live and awake. It's not dead yet. Then a final question that we got was number 4, spatial web. How is that possible? So just to start from the beginning, you might have heard of the spatial web from the very sort of hyped startup called Magic Leap. The spatial web is basically when you have devices in the real world, like your watch or your phone or whatever devices, your glasses, whatever you might have, when that interacts with the web or with the internet. So you've seen it obviously with smart speakers and all that. There's not an interface there. You can talk to a smart speaker and it will retrieve some information from Google, for example, if it's a Google smart speaker. But this is becoming bigger and bigger as more and more devices get connected. Soon enough, my glasses will be connected, just like a phone went from being a phone to a smartphone. Then our watches went from being just a regular watch, becoming a smartwatch. Soon our glasses will be smart glasses. And then what's happening recently, and that's why we put the spatial web as a tech trend in 2020 to look out for, is that both the electronics that you can put into glasses, but also contact lenses. So there are some researchers who successfully put the electronics needed, like a battery and different visual devices, that they put into a contact lens. Obviously, this is still in research and development, so you don't see it when you walk around in the world. But contact lenses are also coming where you can basically, that are connected to the internet, so you can, for example, take a video, take a picture with a contact lens, just like you will be able to do with your glasses. Now, why is this important? Let's just take the example of glasses. I have glasses on right now. I'm looking at a screen right now. What happens when my glasses are able to communicate with my computer? Basically, and this is what Magic Leap has really been pushing, they call it the Magic Verse. Basically, you'll be able to create websites. Let's say I was searching on a website here that comes out of the screen. So if I'm searching on buying, let's say a book like this, I'm going on Amazon, I'm looking for a book, then the book could basically come out because my glasses can make this 3D model of the book. And then I could sift through. So instead of clicking a button going from page to page, I could basically do like this in the book or in the introduction or whatever is available on Amazon. And you can do that with all kinds of things. You can do that with this pen, right? You can sort of, if I want to buy 10 of these pens, again, it could come out and I could see a 3D model, kind of hologram, where I could sort of rotate the pen and all that stuff as if I was holding it right here. And you can think of all kinds of products, obviously, on the web that you buy today, on e-commerce and web shops. But there's many more opportunities with this. You could obviously communicate with people, so it's not just on a flat screen like here. You look at me right now on a flat screen. I could be standing talking to you in your living room or wherever you're watching this video. So there's just so many opportunities with this. Once we have the eyewear, smart glasses or smart contact lenses, where things that are right now being connected with the Internet of Things, they suddenly become not just something that we can talk to in a smart speaker, we can interact with it in a whole different way. And that is pretty damn cool. So in order to answer the question here, how? Well, the necessary technology is really about hardware. It's not so much software. So first step is having smart glasses and smart contact lenses that are not super clunky and geeky, but are actually useful, so it doesn't feel like a very heavy device that is super expensive or whatever. It would be cool also to do it with contact lenses, but that's just another iteration compared to glasses. So that's one step that needs to be taken with the spatial web. The hardware needs to be there. But another step is obviously the software side. So let's say Amazon embraces this spatial web. Then naturally they need to build Amazon.com and all their Amazon services and websites to be able to use this feature where products basically can come out of the screen and you can sort of rotate the pen, for example. So there's a big software project or sort of projects for every organization. Let's just take all the web shops and e-commerce websites out there. They all need to build this functionality, which is obviously big work and that will take time. But the foundational stones have been set. Things are moving in the spatial web, and we will actually, in the book, we talk about right now 3 tsunamis in the book. We talk about Internet of Things, blockchain, and AI, artificial intelligence. And we had the intention since the beginning when we wrote this book to add a new tsunami every single year. And next year, so that will be December 2020, we published the book in December 19 last year. The next tsunami will be about the spatial web. So we will have a new tsunami talking about the wonders and what happens in a world where physical hardware devices gets connected to software, websites, mobile apps, and what have you. So that's super exciting. We can't wait to pick up this discussion with you guys. Let us know in the comments below if you have any follow-up questions or something you might disagree with or even agree with, where we can read more about this. So yeah, thank you for watching everyone and hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.